Hello and welcome back to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blank Gates. I got a couple extra minutes. I wasn't expecting this one, but when you got some time, you might as well use that time. So, what do we do next? So I'm kind of in the middle of something. Um, what's the good news? The good news is I've been just doing some debugging back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I got this message. Let's see, how do I do this? So the best way to do it, I think, is to probably, yeah, this is the best way. I figured out the solution. So the first thing you do is I share my other window of some cats. Nice. And then while I'm sharing the images of the cats, then I open up, yes, so I can hear myself, good. I can hear it and I can see it. Everything's good. Then I come back to this window here, and my expectation is that you're able to see it. Good. All right, as you can see here, it says replete a. Okay, it says. Oh, what the heck just happened? It says this is absolutely brilliant news. This is like we should listen to the AI say it because it's got a British accent.
This is absolutely brilliant news from Replit AI Project Manager. Replit AI Test Results and Analysis. 1. Objective Module API Tests, SRC, TS, pass. All tests in this suite are now passing in the Replit environment. This is a fantastic outcome. Replit's confirmation that the date serialization and error message assertion fixes were correctly in place, or applied by it, has resolved the final failures. The console. Error messages are, as Replit and we have established, expected logs from negative test cases. 2. Task F1.1 API tests, SRC, TS, pass. This suite continues to pass. 3. Overall test status in Replit. For the suites it ran, Replit reports, test suites, 2 passed, 2 total, and tests, 21 passed, 21 total. This means both the objective module and the F1.1 task module tests are green. This means we have now achieved passing tests for both task F1.1 and the Sprint 3 objective module fixes across all 3 development environments: Cursor, Windsurf, and Replit. This is a major milestone and successfully concludes the primary objectives of phases 1, 2, and the main part of phase 3 of the remediation plan you provided. Congratulations to the team. Next steps. 1. Formal closure. We can now consider task F1.1 fully complete and verified. We can also consider the debugging and fixing of the Sprint 3 objective module tests complete. 2. Remaining minor discrepancy. Replit, auth test discovery. Replit's test out.
All right, so there's some minor things, and then proceed to the next development task. We could then move to what is it? Task 1. Okay, so the next one's called task F1.2. Thing is, I asked it this. I said, is there any residual debugging that should be considered in all the development environments? Please fix all bugs before moving to the next task. Good completing. I forgot job. Good job completing F1.1 and Sprint 3 module fixes. So that's an excellent point and great proactive step. Before moving to task F1.2, it's wise to ensure all residual issues, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's review. So then there's something wrong with replete. Here's the issue. Here's the proposed action. Here's another issue in windsurf or replete. And then here's the proposed action. And then something about noisy. There's some kind of issue. There's some proposed action. There's some minor static lint errors. Here's the recommendation. I thought, I'm not the best person for this. I said, run through all of the context of our work together and put together an exhaustive recommendation for architect. I'll pass the message on to architect, request a plan from architect, and when it replies, make your own decision about what to do next. Provide a prompt for each development environment. Okay, what does it have to do? Whoa. So it makes a recommendation. So then I pass architect, it says, let's see what architect has to say. I wonder if I could change the voice just for architect.
Excellent report, Liaison AI. It's outstanding news that both Task F1.1 and the Sprint 3 Objective Module API tests are now passing in all three development environments: Cursor, Windsurf, and Replit. This is a significant achievement and a testament to the rigorous diagnostic and remediation process. I fully endorse the project manager's goal for this next phase: ensure exhaustive code quality and test stability before we proceed with new feature development. Task F1.2. Addressing these outstanding items will ensure we build upon a truly solid foundation. Please find my architectural input, prioritization, and consolidated plan for the items you've identified. Overall approach: your itemized list and proposed actions are generally well structured. We will address them in order of priority, ensuring that fixes in the lead AI, Cursor, are established as a gold standard and then disseminated. Consolidated plan for ensuring code quality and test stability. 1. Replit environment. Auth test suite discovery. High priority bug, divergence.
All right, so then it's like, okay, good, that's good, potential this, that, the other. Noisy, this, that, the other, execution guide. There you go. Copy that. Bring it all over, paste it back into Liaison. Now, I feel like the debugging process really improved in the last hour or so. I mean, I didn't even put in an hour. What changed? So in the past, basically, I was asking Liaison to do everything, and I wasn't relying on Windsurf and Replit enough. Right, so here's Replit. I feel like I wasn't trying to have, so as you can see, what's happening now in humanity and with me particularly, specifically with this situation, is now that I have this liaison and I got this architect, I'm like communicating with them as if they are like people. They are, I guess we can call them entities. And since they're entities, actually what really changed is today when I realized that actually this is going to be a competition between Replit and Windsurf. I mean, we could say it's a competition between Cursor and Replit, but I feel that Cursor and Windsurf, they basically look exactly the same. They kind of have the same functionality. They seem the same. Like there's a lot of things about them that are, I don't know how to distinguish them actually, except that for some reason it seems that Cursor is doing a better job. Now, is it because Cursor has those extra rules? Because remember, I added some rules. Maybe those rules helped to give Cursor the leg up. Or maybe it's not real. Maybe this whole thing about Cursor being the gold standard isn't actually real. I did have the feeling like Cursor was doing things a little bit better in general. So I think we're just going to run with that. I just feel like Cursor against Replete is probably just as good as Windsurf against Replete if we were going to compare them. And then I feel like Cursor may have a slight leg up compared to Windsurf right now. So why would we want, if we're trying to compete, like let's say we compete Cursor against Windsurf. Let's say that Windsurf wins. Then what? Then we're putting Windsurf. I mean, let's say that Replit wins. Then we're going to put Replit against Windsurf. But right now we've decided that Cursor is the gold standard. So we got to have the fight against Windsurf. Now, if Windsurf beats Replit, then fine, it's perfect. Then we're not going to deal with Replit. Most likely, what's going to happen is there's some specific aspects of how Replit works because of its database, because of some of the things it does internally, because of its billing, that I don't know. In order to do a proper test, jump into Replit and you look at the deployment. So we got all these things about deployment, outbound data transfer. We got auto scale development. We got the database. We got a lot of this stuff that happens internally. With the other two development environments, we're going to have to do that with other fixes, with other plugins, with other types of things. So, anyways, I think it's pointless to fight between Windsurf and Cursor right now. I think that they're very similar. They have similar functionality and they have similar ways of working together. I don't know how it works with Cursor and Windsurf in terms of like what other deployment opportunities are there, what other, like how do they connect to, but Replit is definitely, so let's go with that. Now I'm starting to get some information back from Replit, and I'm also getting something back from Cursor. Let's start with Cursor. So the thing about debugging, the problem I was having before is that it didn't have a real relationship with Windsurf as a like coding agent. I was running my relationship with Windsurf at arm's length, meaning I was using Gemini directly. I'll give you an example. Let me just pass this along to Gemini, and let me share you the screen with. Okay, so I gave Replete this request. It says, I'll help you verify the existing paths of the authentication files. Let me check the current project structure to confirm where these files are. So then it does some kind of sort. I don't know what happened exactly, but it seems that there's something that happened. And then it's going through this. Then it goes through this. So it says, based on the test output you provided and the directory structure shown, I can see that the authentication files are missing from your project. Demand is it's only finding 2 test suites. The expected authentication files are at these paths are not present. This explains why your just test runner is discovering 2 test suites. Now, what do I mean? So what am I talking about now? So in the past, what I would do is I would just directly pass this information to Gemini. Now, what I tried doing is, okay, so here's the feedback you gave me. And could you provide any additional information and context for liaison about what to do next? You see, and then I'll paste the reply. So this is the reply it gave me. I'm trying to communicate with Replit. I have to say that I was like ready to break up with Replit. And why? It's because Replit, it's not communicating with me the way that I want it to. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean communicating it the way you want it to? How is it communicating with you? I don't know. It's like, it's not. It's just making mistakes. It's like, okay, so what's wrong here? You just complained. You're not happy with the way that Replit is communicating. Well, it's not necessarily the way it's communicating, the way that it works. Okay. But do you understand how it works? No, I don't really understand how it works. Okay. So rather than being upset about the way that it works and the way that it's communicating with you, why don't you proactively make decision to communicate with it better? For example, okay, so now what happens is All right, so here's, it's going to tell me something about cursor. I pasted this to Replit and oops. And here is the reply to this comment from Replit. You see, so this, oh, I didn't actually show you that. Okay. All right, so this is based on my diagnostic. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. So I got way more data, right? What I do is I pasted this to Replit, and then I explain what I pasted to Replit. Here's the reply to this comment from Replit. You see? So rather than using Replit as simply like an IDE, I'm using Replit to like, hold on, let me just see if I can do something here. Well, for some reason the pasting process is going really slow. Cut and paste is going really slow. Okay, here's the complete conclusion. Next steps, determine API continue for Windsurfer and Replit project manager. Here's the gold standard TypeScript. Okay, so here's the gold standard. Oops. I don't know. Do I got too many windows open? Slow. You know, once it starts generating, I'm going to lose all this. Next step. All right. Dog's outside, actually, so I think I got a couple more minutes. All right, so let's figure this out. Windsurf and AI. Project. We need to provide both Windsurf and Replit with the updated gold standard task TS from Cursor. Here's the gold standard code for this, as refined by Cursor. This code Cursor provided in the last output, including get and post handlers, was refined. This. Here it is. TypeScript. So what? I'm going to add it to. All right. I'm going to share my screen different because now that we're not worried too much on text, I'm going to share my whole screen. Okay. Why does it look like that? This is wrong. Okay. This is, what's going on here? I'm so confused. Stop sharing. Okay. There we go. Okay. Here's the gold standard code as refined. This is the code Cursor, including. Please first provide the gold standard code block Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to do. Good. Good. Now those guys are working on that, and we got the project manager. This is a crucial update from Replit AI. Clear very. Oh no. Famous architects path. So cursor. We're back into cursor. Okay, I understand. I'll overwrite the content. Okay, I understand. I'll overwrite the content of this with the new gold standard API code you provided. Here's the plan. My apologies. Seem to attempt to use the tool this. I'll use this instead to overwrite. This means I'll provide entirely new code. The content to be written in the file. Let's proceed by overwriting this. Nice. Here's this over here. I feel like something's missing. Based on my diagnostic, here's the complete information for liaison about the missing authentication files and the next steps. All right, so this, I actually did. It's missing my. All right, it's having a hard time. Are we at the are we at the limits of my computer? Here it is. And it's working on it. So everybody's working on something. The last line of the file is return, followed by the closing braces, which are not fully shown in the last 10-line snippet, but are part of the gold standard code I applied. I'm now ready for Project Manager to run the tests. So this is a complete overhaul. It's like it's basically going into Cursor's files and just copying everything and saying, like, this is the gold standard, so everybody else has to follow suit. But look, we got 1 failed and 4 failed. I don't know what that's about. Right. So while we're waiting, I'm just gonna. Yeah, I just want to show you one little trick, because we can do it now with Cursor. I think Replete. It's going to take them a minute to finish this. Okay, so Exactly. It's going to ask me to run these tests. So, what? Cursor did not provide the test output. Please run the test API in Cursor project environment. Ensure that you're in the terminal. This. Please copy the following. Okay, so this is what I mean. Now, in this case, so what I would say is, based on these results, is there something to add to give liaison more context and recommendations moving forward? Okay, so then we put in the lines, right? So this is what I mean by giving liaison more context. And then based on that output, Cursor said, and then we put the additional context. So I feel like this is a major shift in my thinking, because before I would just directly take the terminal response, and then I would put it directly into Gemini, who is now taking a long time to do anything right now. So it tells me that maybe it's time for us to create a new Gemini. Create a new liaison, because it's just going too slow. But the idea is that whenever you get a terminal response, then the first thing you do is you take the terminal response, you paste it into Cursor. You take Cursor's terminal and you put it into this thing, and then, or you take the Windsurf terminal response and you put it over here. You ask it for its comments, because that gives you like complete context. Still waiting for Replete. All right, so check it out. All right, so what we do is we take this. All right, based on these results, what additional comments would you like me to pass to liaison? And then, so we give the results, just give them the results directly. And Replete's going to have some opinion about, like, what does that mean? And Replete has a lot more experience with Replete. All right, so everything's going slow now. All right, so what do we got going on? I think I passed this one over already. I don't think it should say show thinking because it looks like it says slow. Slow thinking. I don't want it to be slow. Maybe view thinking. View thinking is better than slow thinking. Still waiting for that gold standard code. Instruct Replete to create missing auth files and run the tests. First copy the content of the oops. Okay. It did it anyways. So you can see it's like completely reworking the code. So what happened was in Sprint 3, we started creating a database, and then everybody was creating the database a little bit differently. And then at some point, there were some debugging issues, and then eventually somebody came up with the wild idea that, okay, well, why don't we just force everyone to have the same standard of code? And the benefit of that, the interesting thing about that is that Cursor and Windsurf, they seem to be very similar. They look similar. They're direct competitors. And definitely OpenAI is going to be working to chip away at Cursor's market share. Replit is a very obviously different platform. So it's harder to just kind of like, do you like Cursor or do you like Windsurf? It's because they look the same, they feel kind of the same, they kind of do the same things. I haven't found a major difference yet. But then you work with Replit, and it's like, yeah, this is definitely a different animal. So you could start working with both of them, and then you could just decide which one you eventually like better. All right, so this is a different problem. Gemini Liaison seems to be actually giving really great advice, working through everything without any problems. But it's really, really slow. So it means that we're probably nearing or past the context window already. Or it's an issue with my computer. The thing is that because we got so many specific code blocks that we're working with right now, and we're not going to be able to save those code blocks if we create a new liaison, then I think we just put up with the slow liaison in this case. All right, so I'm carrying on with this new habit I've got. When I get test results, then I pass the test results over to, I'll create 4 authentication files with the exact gold standard. It didn't actually make them. But then it shows the lines of code. See, this is way better. Okay, so I can't even cut and paste it now. Oops. There. See, it's much more information for a cursor to know about the situation. Now it wants me to run these tests. All right, here it is again. So based on this terminal response, what can you tell the liaison? All right, so Now the thing is, now cursors or sorry, liaison's definitely having some issues right now. It's doing good with the work, but it's just so slow. So I think generally the plan is going to be, well, okay, so this, it's fine. This, I guess it's fine. Everything passed. We're waiting for this. We just got the prompts actually. I would prefer to make it through this set of changes before I change liaison. But we definitely have to change liaison now. It's definitely on its last legs. Create the missing code. Okay, it did. Run the tests. All right, I'll have to do this a little bit later. Let's see. Okay, project. This is very helpful. Brings fantastic news along with a final hurdle. Let's see if we can overcome the final hurdle. Right. Let's also we can update some of our. So we did debugging. Cursor is now at 9. Oops. Wind surface at 15. My computer's hot. My computer hasn't been hot almost ever. So everybody's having problems. I think, I don't know, maybe the computer is, everyone's decided that they want to go slowly. Also, maybe the internet might be slow right now because today is a holiday in Georgia. And so probably everybody's at home watching movies. Nothing better than sitting back watching movies. Your environment is now fully green. All right, so now I gotta update my liaison. So I'm gonna just make another video. Actually, I want to go outside, but yeah, probably better to go outside. So with this update, it means that everything is good with all of my development environments. And that means I can also do a checkup on this one. What's 95 divided by 5? All right, there we go. Now, let's see. I think what we'll do is we're going to merge this one. We can't merge it. This isn't. No. All right, so we're going to recalibrate liaison. Mm-hmm. Now this time I'm not gonna I'm not gonna provide the full terminal output back into Replit because look, I put in the full terminal command last time and it just says, hey, everything's good and wonderful in the world, but it missed some key information about something that wasn't actually working with the next test API route handler. All right, so now we got some pushback from Replit. Suddenly everything's working again. That's weird. Look how fast we're copying and pasting again. Weird. So it was the internet. But how does the internet? Because you copy it, it has to paste what? I don't know. All environments are green. Yay! Everything's fantastic. Everything's low priority. Everything's wonderful. Would you like me to quickly ask Cursor to confirm these settings? It's a minor check. We confirm and close out the entire bit. Yes. Part of the experience of like doing this, it's just learning how to do it and having enough patience to be able to do what it takes to do it. Like just accepting that this is the standard operating procedure and that standard operating procedures require a certain amount of activity. And then to be able to have that willingness to be able to do the standard operating procedures. And then once you start, but then you got to improve over time, you got to improve those standard operating procedures. And for me, that like this whole video, the whole purpose of this video was to show you that like I've improved my ability to debug by leaning more heavily on. We are incredibly close. Jeez. This is also why I rely on AI. Because it's like thinking about stuff that it's like doing stuff right now that I have no idea what it's doing. And like you can see that Cursor, because Gemini is working with Cursor and it has the context of what's happening in Cursor. It also has the context of working with Windsurf. Then suddenly Replit is like, hey, well, like whatever, like I don't even want to do what you want me to do. It's like, what? And then Gemini's liaison's like, no, listen, this is important. And then it says, like, we got to go look. He says, we got to go talk to Cursor. We got to go talk to Cursor and get some information from Cursor. I'm ready to update this API file. I'll completely overwrite the current file. I'll overwrite the entire file with the new gold standard. I'll confirm with the, yeah. I'm going to close out Windsurf. It's wild. What? They just said something else. All right. Copy. So first, we're just going to do the whole, paste the whole thing into Architect. So I would say in general, I feel like debugging is like way better. Now that I'm actually passing on the terminal commands to the other to its own environment and asking for additional comments, and then taking the terminal command with the additional comments, putting all of those things into liaison. From an architectural standpoint, based on the successful resolution of critical and medium priority items, code-based testing infrastructure appears to be robust and stable state. Therefore, I agree with the liaisons and stress that we're in an excellent position to move forward, pending your decision on the deferred items, which I find the liaison's recommendations to be sound for proceeding to F1.2 backend. Implement this. Okay, I'm ready to support the next development. Okay, so this is the issue. I feel like we have used a huge amount of liaisons token context window with the operations that we've been working on today and the last couple of days. And I would like to create a new liaison. Before we do so, I want liaison to reflect on the work that it has done And I've been thinking about this idea that Liaison has been asking for some code from Cursor and then passing on that code to the other software environments. Now, I don't believe that the code should be saved in our calibration documents because at any time, Liaison could ask Cursor or any of the other development environments for specific code. And the purpose of those development environments is to save the code. I found it interesting that Liaison, because it had the code within its token context window, it was very easily able to go back and find the code and to reprint it and to put it into prompts and to work well with the code when it was creating prompts for the other environments. So I'm not saying that it needs to save that code. And when we create a new AI instance of Liaison, it will obviously not have access to that code because that code is saved in the development environments. It is not saved in the calibration documents. In addition, I feel like I have improved on my ability to help Liaison debug. Specifically, I added a step into the process. Whenever I added a terminal command into the terminal inside of a development environment, I would then paste the output of the terminal into the development environment itself. For example, I would take the terminal command from Windsurf, I would paste it into Windsurf again, and then I would ask Windsurf to give some comments and provide context for what happened in the terminal. And then I would take this complete response and put that whole section into Liaison. And that really helped Liaison to have much, much more context and understand more fully what was happening inside of the development environment, in addition to the terminal output, but also what the specific development environment thought about what was happening within that terminal. I feel like the debugging experience was much more smooth than in the past. And I want Liaison now to create a plan, reflect on what has been done in the last task and also in the debugging experience, and consider what aspects of each of the calibration documents could be updated or changed based on the improvements that we've made in our processes and the successes that we've had, and also the experience that Liaison has had working with me and also working with the architect. After Liaison provides those specific recommendations for what it believes we should use to improve the calibration documents, ask it to provide a report, and then I will bring that report back into you. And after you read the report from Liaison, then create a very specific and detailed process for how we're going to walk through each of the calibration documents in order to update each one to end this Liaison. All right, now I'm not going to do this whole process right now because we only got 1 hour before my next meeting, and the dog definitely is going to want to go outside. So, but I do want Liaison to make this report before I go outside. This is a very insightful moment to pause, reflect, prepare for the new Liaison instance, leveraging the experiences and learnings from current one, initiating the context window. Context window management, document revision protocol. Now is a proactive step here. Observe. Yeah, I should have used the proper term. It's time to initiate context window management and document revision protocol. You look, even here, it's like Liaison's dying. It's on its last breath. You know, working with AI is so strange because you start to realize that, like all human beings, all living organisms, we all go through a process of life. And it's a process of learning and maturing and growing and developing. I'll provide my answers with detailed report for question C. What? I understand initiating context is a juncture is a very good idea. It allows us to capture significant learnings. Response to context window management. Do you still have access to the beginning of this conversation? Yes, I confirm I currently have access to the beginning of this conversation and the full context of the 5 initially uploaded calibrated documents. My recall of these documents and our earlier instruction in this session remains strong. However, as our conversation has grown quite extensive with the detailed code exchanges and test outputs, we are proactively managing the context. The primary perceived limitation is that the inherent eventual boundary of any large language model's context window continued expansion without a reset would eventually lead to degradation, precise recall of earliest details. This reset is therefore timely. If we were to start a new AI instance session now, do you confirm that the re-uploading would be necessary for the new instance to have full and precise access to the most current context? Yeah, this isn't exactly the question I want. If the new AI instance were to start now, the uploading 5 core documents once they were updated based on the review process we are about to undertake would be essential. Yeah, obviously, based on all the work you've completed together since your initial calibration with the initial documents reflect all the completed work and learnings from add review. Please be specific about which documents and sections your suggestions apply to. Also, critically, what information needs to be gathered and prepared to draft the next sprint's active sprint operations document. Reflecting on our recent work, particularly the successful resolution of the F1.1 scoreboard task post API and the Sprint 3 objective module test failures across all 3 AI development, are considering 2 insightful observations you made. Based on AZ code context and improved debugging input method, I offer the following specific recommendations. Response to protocol 1, question C. Okay, document 1. So we're going to refine this to this, do this. Document 2, do this. Document 3, document 4, document 5. For immediate continuation of Sprint 4, no new document draft is needed for S4 beyond the initial status. Good. So I can copy this and I can place it in here. Now Architect is going to create a plan for uploading all that documentation. Now I prefer like Architect lasting more than one cycle. I'm ready to begin phase 2 of the review process, starting with active sprint operations, sprint 4, version 1 document suggested by Architect AI. Please let me know when you're ready to formally announce. Make the formal announcement for us to focus on this first document. There, we did it. Next step is to revise the documents.